First of all, I've spoken to you in a while. How have you been getting on, and how have you found things with the manager so far this season?
Yeah, it's been excellent. Obviously, the team's been in good form. We've kind of, the manager's recruited well. There's been, a lot of good additions to the squad that have contributed. So everything's, pieced together nicely. We're in a good run of form, but there's still a lot of work to do between now and the end of the season in all domestic fronts. So we have to, maintain our kind of composure, our focus, and make sure we continue to do what we've been doing so far.
Yeah, say there's still a lot of work to be done on the domestic front, still in all three competitions. You've been here before, John. You know what it's all about. How does this season feel? How do you feel you're comparing up to previous seasons when you have been successful in all three competitions? And do you feel that you are placed to go on and perhaps even win all of your remaining matches this campaign?
I think, ideally that's in your mindset. You want to win every game, but I've been here before where things can change very quickly for you. You have to maintain your focus. You can't take anything for granted. The team are playing good football at the minute. They're in good form, but ultimately that can change week to week. So we have to maintain our standards in training around the training ground. Keep pushing the players, keep pushing the team to perform every week, and keep churning out results. And if we maintain that focus and that consistency, then hopefully that leads to trophies at the end of the season.
Hi, John. Obviously, this week the manager has been linked with the job at Leeds. You as staff and as players, what do you think when you hear these things?
We've just tied him at the chair upstairs and get a couple of security at his door. So, no, listen, there's always speculation. I think, credit to the manager in terms of the job he's done here. I think it's a bit like players. When players come in and they do well, they get, linked to other clubs. I think the manager's shown himself his abilities as a manager. I think when you do that and you have success with that, you attract attention, and that's what's happened. But ultimately, it's a lot of speculation. That's what it is. There's a lot of noise, but I know firsthand the way he works. He's really focused on his job here. He loves being here. He's in the middle of building something very special. So I think his mind's firmly focused on being at Celtic and doing the best he can here.
And in terms of the Scottish Cup game this weekend, you say, you take it one game at a time. Do you treat this game any differently because it is a cup game, although it is against a Scottish Premiership side?
I think there's always a slightly different mindset. I think there's a bigger consequence. There's no way redeeming yourself the following week or later on in the season. So you have to go in with the maximum focus on it. You know that even if your performance isn't going to plan and the game's going exactly as planned, you have to somehow dig out a result and get through to the next round. So we know that, but again, we just kind of stick to process. We know how we want to play. We'll not change that. Our approach won't change. The way we prepare and approach the game's the same as it always is. But you always just in the back of your head have to maintain that there's a bigger consequence to this game if you're not on it or you don't perform on the day. But as I say, the players have been excellent. They've responded really well to all the work we've been giving them, and they're in good shape at the moment. So we just have to maintain that.
Hi, John. Took me a while to get the mute button off that. I just wanted to follow up on Alison's point there, actually, and obviously a cup competition of all the teams to be facing. St Mirren are a great reminder of the danger they can possess as the only team to beat Celtic domestically this season. Is that a good message, obviously, to promote ahead of a cup game when there is that jeopardy to be at your best ahead of the game?
I think that it's a kind of excitement of cup football for everyone watching. Anything can happen in a day. We've seen it, even recently in England. The kind of cup shocks is something that's spoke about every year. But again, don't want to focus too much on that. Obviously, our recent form, that's what we mainly focus on. But again, we also have to park that and remember that it's a new challenge ahead of us. Stevie's built a really good squad there. They've been very strong most of the season. They're in a good place. He's also added some faces as well. So we know it'll be a tough game. We know they're very hard working side, very well organised and disciplined, and it'll be up to us to go and break that down and make sure we're aware of their strengths. So credit to Steve and his staff, what he's done there, but ultimately it's winner takes all tomorrow in terms of getting through the next round. So we have to make sure we focus on ourselves and get the job done.
You touched on that recent form, and obviously it's so easy to praise and talk about the quality at the top end of the pitch, the goals scored, but I'm sure for you it must be so pleasing seeing that incredible run of clean sheets. Obviously that goal against St Johnstone bagged the only goal conceded in the last 7 games. That must be a really pleasing element for you.
It's good. I much prefer when the goals are going in the other way. It's more exciting. But again, the foundation of our game is based around how the team defends and how we work. I think that's a key thing, it goes unnoticed. The players, the team, they score a lot of goals. It comes from all areas of the pitch. We play a lot of exciting football, but the way we defend from the top end of the pitch back, it's a credit to the players and the way they execute that plan, because we always feel that kind of stimulates our game anyway. If we start with good energy on the front foot, be aggressive, the attacking stuff we know pretty much will fall into place. If we're a bit loose in how we press and a bit lazy in terms of how we shut things down and close space, then sometimes things can get a bit sloppy. So it's always the key message is maintain our intensity, maintain our kind of ability to press teams. We'll put them in the back foot and dominate as high up the pitch as we possibly can. And that's what defensive games are all about. It's not about sitting back and defend their box and how well we defend the box. We want to defend as far away from the box as possible, and that's kind of shown a lot in our games recently in terms of the number of chances we've conceded or lack of chances, the number of kind of entries into our own box. So that stops teams getting the big moments that can cause you damage. So yeah, credit to the team. They're as I said, they're in good shape, but again they've shown great resilience in terms of them being challenged at times, but at the same time their consistency to go out there and perform and do all the dirty parts of the game as well. It's been excellent.
Hi John, first of all, can I just ask you about your team news this weekend? Is it a full squad? Anthony Ralston back in contention?
Yeah, so everyone's trained this week. Ben Siegrist, our only real injury. Everyone else has been out there training all week. Tony, as you mentioned, had a good week's training under his belt. So the full squad to pick from this week.
Just on a personal level, what have you kind of enjoyed most about working with Ange, and what have you learned most over the last 18 months working with him?
I think again he's been a terrific guy to work with. Came in with a really clear idea of what he wants, and we've all kind of embraced that and tried to fit that into how we work. But his big message is very consistent. In terms of the biggest message I can give you is his consistency and how he delivers his messages, what he wants from the team. And the big thing for the players is that they get the repeated message all the time. So in terms of our game model, the key principles and behaviours of what he expects, that's pretty much ingrained in the players now. I think you can see that, and it doesn't shy away from that. Week on week he drills it into them, and it doesn't waver from that. So that's very strong. So he's very strong in his convictions in terms of how he manages the squad, the way he's pieced the squad together, because he pretty much had to rebuild a full squad, and that in itself, I think we all know the recruitment part of football can be very tricky at times, getting the right mix. But again, because he's very clear on how he wants the team to play, he's very clear in terms of the profile of player he needs to bring in. And again, everyone in the main who's come in and contributed, we've got a very strong squad at the minute, so everyone's pushing each other. Again, the gaffer never lets up in terms of every day kind of out there and making sure we're maximising the training we have, and preparing for the game. And when you do that, then that's when you get the consistent result. That's when you get the consistent performances. So he's a stickler for his detail, stickler for hard work and maintaining the standards. And so far he's been terrific in terms of what he's contributed to the club.
I think you said during the week that Kyogo has been such a success at Celtic because he sticks to the plan. Obviously, we've seen some fairly high-profile departures in Juranovic and Giakoumakis this month. Is it a case of players have to be 100% bought into what's happening, or they'll be moved on?
I think the manager said many times that that he wants a squad of players and everyone who's fully committed to the project and the club themselves. And along the way it happens. There's always, every season there'll be players that come in, players that come out, move out. And if players maybe see their career moving in a different path, or they're maybe not getting as much game time as they like, and they've got a problem with that, I think the manager said that we'll try and come to a solution, because he wants players who are 100% bought into what we're trying to do. Now, again, both those players had great contribution in their time here. Had big impacts, really good guys to work with. So again, we'd no issues with that. It happens in football. Things change. Players move on. But the most important thing is, when players do move on, that we bring in, more quality again that can, maintain the standards or even improve the standards we already have in terms of the squad. So, I think again, the manager's recruited well in that respect. And brought in some strong players, and obviously the January window, and hopefully we'll see them coming and contributing over the next few months.
Just following up on that, then, with obviously Jackie Mackis leaving, you don't feel as though you're light up front. You think you've got options. You think the players that are there are more than capable of filling the boots.
Yeah, I think we're strong. Obviously, a lot of teams maybe carry more natural strikers. Obviously, O's come in and he's getting up to speed. Day on day we can see him getting stronger. He's come on a couple of games and started to show a wee bit of what he's about. So he's different from Kyogo. Again, and you've also got Daizan who can play through that central area if need be as well. So we've got good options. In terms of the manager's not. He thinks long and hard about the makeup of the squad and what he needs and what he doesn't need. And at the end of the window there, I think he said to you guys yourself, he was pretty content with what he's brought in and how the squad's looking. And we are where we are at the moment. That's the squad we've got, so it's up to us to now make sure we get the best out of them for the rest of the season.
John, there's been a lot of talk in the last few weeks about the state of pitches across the league and also at Hampden. A few years ago, I think 5 years ago, we installed a new pitch when Brendan was the manager. I wonder if you think that's been a success and if it's something that the club might be looking at sorting, given that this time next year we could be involved in European football when the pitch isn't in a great state.
Yeah, again, there's obviously been a couple of issues with the pitch this year, and again, without getting into detail of it, again, I'm not a groundsman or an expert in that field at all, but our pitch in general is in the main pretty good. They obviously installed and paid a lot of money for a pitch a number of years ago, which made big improvements. There's been a couple of little patches here and there where maybe weather's not been so good. There's been a bit of kind of disease or issues in the pitch, but again, ultimately we just have to work on that and get it the best we possibly can. We don't want to make too many excuses about it. Obviously we'd love every pitch to be absolutely perfect, but again, the climate we live in and the conditions we live in isn't perfect for that. But so we just got to get our heads around it, whatever we face. In terms of even St Johnstone the weekend, yeah, the pitch wasn't great, but we don't use that as an excuse for the players. It's just kind of weakness so we end up just kind of focusing on it. What can we affect? It's the way we play. Yeah, it might impact on one or two touches or passes or whatever else, but forget about it, move on, and get on with what's in front of you. So again, it's not something we want to get dragged into too much. We'd obviously love the standards of everything to be improved, but we just got to deal with what's in front of us.
As a former central defender yourself, how impressed have you been with the partnership we have at the moment of Cameron Carter-Vickers and Carol Starfelt?
Yeah, they've been great. Again, I spoke about Kyogo well in the week in terms of that front end of the pitch, what he's brought, but a lot of times the guys at the back end can go a little bit unnoticed, which for me is a good thing. It means they're not making too many mistakes. So they've been positive, real good characters, have the big impact in terms of the team. They bring a real kind of stability, and I think we've seen the more they've played together, the stronger they've got as well. They contrast well with each other as well in terms of the styles of them. So yeah, it's been a really good partnership. They've been strong. They've been fit for a period of time now, working together. And I think, especially at that back end of the pitch, the more you play with each other, the relationship you build, you build a good foundation there. So yeah, they're in a good place, like a lot of the other team are. But again, we always keep pushing them and trying to improve them week on week as well.